Hey guys, welcome to the Tesla shareholder meeting. And I just want to start off by saying, hot damn, I love you guys.
Hi friends, welcome back. So that was Elon Musk on his entrance in the Tesla shareholder meeting, also known as the cult meeting for Tesla stock. And you can hear the warring fans saying, Elon, 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 right? And it's easy to get sucked into this stuff because it's exciting, right? And I want to chat with you about this, but also too about the culture of our current stock market. And it's crazy because frankly, it's everywhere. And I honestly want to tell you guys like the truth about this kind of stuff and keep you informed. Sometimes, cult members, they get all upset when I talk about this kind of stuff. I guess for some people, reality is like, how can I say, harsh medicine or medicine that tastes bad. But reality is still important. And I'm trying my best to help you guys. I'll give you an example. Take a look at this. This is an actual real headline. Elon Musk claims Optimus robots could make Tesla a 25 trillion company, more than half the value of the S&P 500 today. I showed you guys this headline before, but I just want to show you again because I think this sort of captures like how ludicrous the stuff we're talking about here. And to any sane person or reasonable person, you'd say, okay, we're talking about robots, a company that hasn't sold any robots. And then remember, it hadn't sold any robots. And suddenly we're talking about like $25 trillion. And the number that Elon was saying is like 10 to 30 billion robots, like 2 robots for every human. It's just like complete nonsense. And the cult just sort of buys into it because they feel like they're part of this, rebel community. They feel like they're part of this special movement, etc. And it also is very similar to this whole GameStop stuff. You guys know the Roaring Kitty, he comes out and just like tweets out basically like nonsense, just seriously, it was just like movie clips, TV clips, and I mean it's nonsense. Like a car chase or someone breaking through a door or whatever, and it's just complete nonsense. And people are essentially making these financial / gambling decisions based on these cult-like figures. And I understand. I do YouTube every day, and whenever I say this, I say, "Oh, Chris, you don't understand. This is about a bigger movement. This is about showing the man." And it's like, if you just listen to yourselves, like you're investing not based on any sort of financial fundamental, but you're just based on, oh, this is a movement. I want to be part of a community. And I was thinking about this. I did a video, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago, and it was about the increasingly problem of loneliness among young people. And it's interesting because I've been thinking about this, and for those of you guys who've read my book, you'll know, I'll tell you, my book's called Positive Angle, and I actually talk a lot about this topic. I'm 49, so I grew up in the 80s, and I honestly know what it's like to be alone. I know what it's like to have no hope. I know what it's like to be poor. I know, like, the person I am today, it's probably, how can I say, it doesn't reflect the person I was back then as a kid. But I guess what I try to share with you is that you can pull yourself out of bad circumstances, right? Unfortunately, though, a lot of people, though, get sucked into wild cults and stuff like that. I can just tell you, like, around me, there were drugs everywhere. A lot of my friends went nowhere. And it's a, how can I say, it's a complicated topic. These are all really complicated and deeply emotional topics. And sort of when I refer to this whole Musk stuff, and I know I make jokes about it, but in all seriousness though, when I refer to him as, Lord Elon, and for some people there's the Lord and Savior, it's because there's a lot of people that have no hope, be it financially, also too, they want to be part of community, right? Maybe don't have like real friends, etc., and they feel like they have to buy their way into this kind of thing and hold in that stock and go down with the ship. In our current environment, and I want to show you just a couple charts in this. I've showed this before, but I'll show it again. Frankly, home ownership is really, really difficult, especially for young people, because your salaries aren't going up fast enough to keep up with home prices. So, for example, this is the price to income ratio. So how much is a price of houses these days compared to how much money people make. This is an older chart. I think this one shows 2022. So the ratio is like 5.8. So roughly 6 times more than your income is the price of a home. This is another chart. This is also up to 2022, and I'll show you most recent numbers as well. This kind of shows you where prices are super crazy. So, for example, in California, and I lived in LA, so I can confirm this. It's super crazy there. You might be looking to price to income ratio of like 10 to so basically a price of a home is like 10 or plus more than your income, which is pretty nuts, right? So in that example, it's like what's the like when you live there, it's like who can afford anything? That's sort of what people are talking about. And I remember, so for example, I have a friend whom you may not know, but he wrote the movie Land Before Time, which is a popular dinosaur movie. His name is Stu, but it was funny when I remember talking to him about this kind of stuff, and who I consider very successful person, etc. But when someone like him complains about home prices or talks about like how things used to be compared to today, I think his story is like when he first moved to LA as a kid. Him and a couple roommates, I think they might have spent, it was like really cheap. It was like $300 rent or something like that. And even in today's hours, that would be cheap, right? And he's older, so maybe that was back in the 70s or whenever that was. But today, if you want to live in LA, and I'm just talking about rents, I'm not even talking about home prices, but if you want to move out there and get a job, etc., like you might be looking over $2,000, maybe even $3,000. I think I have a friend right now, he lives in north of LA, so it'd be like Burbank kind of area. I think he pays like I think it's over 2,500. It's probably 3,000 or some ludicrous number. And I even talked to actually one of my former students who lives out there. She was telling me that she moved back in with her mom, and I think I told you guys about this story before. Point being, it's really really tough for young people these days, right? Rents are too high, and then let's say you're a newlywed couple and you want to buy a place out in LA. It's like you're looking at like high 6-figure, 7-figure kind of stuff. It is really expensive, and this is stuff you guys already know, but I just want you to know that you're not alone, and also too historically things are indeed very very high. So this is the more current chart. I know the chart's kind of small, but I just wanted to put a sort of a longer perspective on this. So the housing bubble is like the '08. The ratio, so income to home prices were around high sixes, right? Currently, we're above that even. This is most recent numbers here is above 7, approaching 8. So again, this is price of a home compared to how much people make basically. And sort of why am I talking about the cost of homes, Elon Musk, and community loneliness, all these kind of things. This is sort of why, and this is a picture of an Amway convention. This is sort of why these cult-like atmospheres form, right? People already know that things are really, really expensive. People look at their jobs and their situation, and it's like, there's no way out to get that sort of quote American dream that I see on social media. And then you turn to these groups, like use an Amway example, if you want to talk about the Musk stock, Tesla stock cult, you can talk about that. But they look at that stuff as being like, oh, that's the pathway to freedom, etc. And then you start to turn off your brain and you overlook like obvious nonsense. This being an example of, oh yes, invest in this company. They're going to make a bunch of robots, 10 billion to 30 billion robots, and it's like it's not even in reality anymore. Moreover, even if you just want to talk about cars, for example, right? And I try to tell you guys the truth about this kind of stuff. So this came out June 15, 2024. So today, you can read the headline. People are delaying buying new cars, creating a deflationary spiral that's bad news for the auto industry, meaning that large purchases aren't really something that's on people's radar these days. Cars being one, houses being another one, right? You talk about fears of inflation, right? So people are concerned about costs going up on various things, be it medical services, be it your housing, be it your food or your energy. This is another headline, June 14, 2024. Consumer sentiment falls to 7th month low on worries over inflation and weaker incomes. And I show you guys all this stuff together. And again, this is just reality, right? Things cost a lot of money. You know this already. You inherently know this. You go to the store, you can see these things. You see the price of cars, you see the price of houses. And for some people, they feel really really hopeless. I can't get that life that I see on social media, and then you feel like your only option is to resort to essentially gambling or high speculation. In the situation, let's say, the example is Tesla again. The situation in Tesla, What people try to tell you is that, well, I understand you lost half your money in Tesla stocks. It's like last 3 years is like down by half, but trust in Lord Elon, because Elon did it before, and he can do it again. And the problem with that kind of thinking, it just completely ignores all kind of facts and all kinds of reality, right? Economic conditions were different back when, say, he first was doing Tesla, right? There was a lot less competition back then. Interest rates were much lower. Basically, he started that company, or I shouldn't say started. We'll say he sued his way to leadership of that company. It's a better way to say it. And if you don't know, you can look up the lawsuits, stuff like that. It's a crazy story, but he did that at the very bottom, right after the crash. Talking about the great financial crisis, and then sort of climbed the way back up, and the stock did really well. In the sort of era of COVID, we're all sitting at home on Robinhood, and you had ARK Invest pumping you that stuff, etc. Right? It was a certain era. Just like the conditions were right, and that's what happened. And now fast forward to today, people kind of want a repeat of that happening again, but the conditions are all altogether very different. And when I try to like talk about this stuff with people, it's strange. Like, people don't want to face the truth of it. And moreover, when I sort of get frustrated by this stuff, trying to just have some talk to sensitive people, is like, and I mentioned it, don't put all your faith in just one person. The only thing you can control in this life, really honestly, is the actions of what you take, and sort of how hard you work, how well you educate yourself, and sort of how can I say, do the best you can to control your own destiny. I think what's frustrating about this whole sort of cult-like investor community stuff is all these people putting their faith in like someone who doesn't care about them, and moreover just says like any kind of nonsense to keep you happy. And if you can't see this nonsense stuff here, right, the optimist stuff, just read the headline again. That's all I can say, and just have an honest discussion with yourself. Like, for someone who hasn't sold any robots at all, something that's going to be 25 trillion, just let that sink in, how ridiculous it is, and why are people falling for this. And again, I think it's because it branches from hopelessness, and they're looking for some sort of savior. I do want to show you guys something though also what I think is fascinating, and this is sort of why I try to tie in the news and understand the psychology of the market. This is another headline just coming out today, June 15, 2024. The market is blowing off what the Fed is saying about rates, right? So remember, the Fed is basically saying higher for longer, and yet this is a headline: traders poured $2 billion into tech this last week, most in months, which is strange. And it reminds me of all of the channels out there that are telling you, oh, this is early in NVIDIA, right? Or they'll tell you, oh, this is early in Tesla. And it's like, after something's gone up, say 1,000% or whatever, to say that it's early is frankly insane. Also, too, let's say, talking about these companies that were founded, over 10 years ago. I can't remember exactly when the IPO of NVIDIA. I think Tesla IPO might have been around 2009. Maybe NVIDIA IPO was like 1999, something like that. So these are clearly not new companies, and for anyone to claim that it's early, it just sounds so strange to me. This is sort of the stuff I like to share with you guys. This is a really interesting chart, and you can pause the video and take a look at it for yourself. There is a small spelling error in there in financials, but it is what it is. But it says here, S&P 500 sector performance 6 months after the first rate cut. So after a cut, like traditionally or historically, that's a better way to say, not traditionally, but historically, how do different sectors do? And it kind of shows you here, like you have utilities, staples, healthcare, industrials, materials, communication services, energy, financials, discretionary, real estate, and technology. And you can see here, tech usually, right? And if you look at this past year, usually struggles a bit. So it's kind of funny how you have all this money, flowing in, expecting that the rate cuts are going to, send tech to the moon, and you're essentially buying at the all-time highs. And it's weird, right? Usually you want to, buy low, sell high, that kind of stuff. If you don't want to stress about any of this stuff of like, picking sectors, etc., you're always, best off just going with the index, and you sort of capture everything. So in any given year or time frame, even if one sector underperforms, you're going to get overperformance in another one, right? So and this is sort of why, again, you can pause this and read this any way that you like, but it is great to see just different perspectives. This offers you different years and different sectors after the first rate cut. So and I'll leave it on screen so you guys can take a look at it for yourself. Anyway, I hope you understand kind of my message with this stuff is, try to keep yourself grounded in reality. I understand, again, because we have massive loneliness in society, you want to feel like you're part of something great. But, when you're talking about, money investments, it's not about being part of a community or a group that makes you feel good. It's about making sound financial decisions and betting on yourself, socking money away, right? Investing in sort of reasonable, smart ways and planning for your future. When I was young, I grew up basically just a bunch of, and I try to, how can I say, I don't want to sound too mean, but just be honest. I just grew up around a lot of people who were uneducated and managed their money very, very poorly. And, they have this, culture of like, I just have to, buy whatever flashy car to show off to my friends. But like, and always use car example because I'm talking about Tesla here. Spending all of your money on depreciating assets to brag to your friends is like, it's like complete opposite of what you'd want to do to be financially responsible. Sort of the things I always tell with you guys, pay off your debts, secure your income by maintaining, focus on what your main skill is, be it in your career, make good relationships with people around you, right? These kind of things. And these are all really obvious advices, but to some people they're not. Maybe some people, and I've heard this before, some people's like, I don't want to play the politics game at work, stuff like that. That's just part of life. And think of it this way, when someone leaves whatever company that you work at, goes somewhere else, and they're looking to hire people, they think of like, okay, who do I want to bring with me? And that's just one example, but that's just sort of how the world, really works is if you're likable and people want to be around you and you do good work, you're always going to have a opportunity in your life, right? And which is very, very different than saying, hey, I'm going to put all my money and bet on someone who doesn't even know me and then hope that they bring me to salvation, which is kind of what our market is. I try to give you some just practical advice in this kind of stuff. My wife and I, we always talk about these things, and it's funny, we have different backgrounds, as everyone in the world does have different backgrounds. But one of the things that for me, why I stay happy all the time and always keep pushing forward is because I know in the long term, by having sound fundamental principles of how to live life, how to stay healthy, both mentally, physically, and otherwise, we're always going to do great. I see so many people on YouTube that are just like freaking out every single day, and you know which YouTubers I'm talking about. It's a lot of them actually. Really, they have mental breakdowns like all the time. And the thing I try to do, with you guys is just show up every day with a smile and try to keep you grounded in reality, because you can do well. Unfortunately, though, in today's world, there's so many like flashy, Instagram, Facebook, whatever social media posts that sort of goad you into taking risks. And just be careful out there is all I try to say. When people say, this is a big red flag, when people say, oh, just don't believe anything in the news, don't believe anything that anyone says about numbers, don't even look at numbers, right? Just believe in your Lord and Savior and your 25 trillion. You're in a cult, and it never ends good for people. So anyway, thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.